Hello everybody and welcome back to Eddie versus the Algorithm, the series where every single week of the FPL season I bring to you the new and improved Algorithm 11 to take on that game week. Then I put together a team of my own to try and take on that Algorithm team for that specific game week and see if I can beat the points total of the computer. So without further ado, let's have a quick recap of how it went down in game week 7. So let's jump into and have a quick recap of how Eddie's team got on for game week 7, and more specifically, was I able to beat the Algorithm and make it 5-3 to me in this series so far? I didn't think I'd be ahead so far this season. I'm currently at 4-3. Let's see if I've been able to beat the Algorithm once again. In goal, we had Jose Sarr of Wolves, same with the Algorithm, and although Wolves didn't manage to keep a clean sheet, that was a bit of a disappointment and in the back, to be honest, and more so because I did have a double up with Semedo, as you can see there. We did take a bit of a punt in defence with Lowton, who did manage to grab us 5 points, which was pretty impressive. But then we went with Rudiger and Alonso, who were both, again, pretty let down at the back. Alonso, of course, not featuring at all, meaning Brownhill came on. So we add those 2 points off the bench that you can see just down beneath me, underneath. I appreciate it's quite small. But yeah, 2 points extra for where Alonso is. So yeah, in midfield, we had Salah, who obviously grabbed us a very, very nice 13 points. We didn't captain him, but I thought it's too much to take the Egyptian King out. The Algorithm, in fact, did do that. Went with Bruno Fernandes instead, and it did actually have a backfire onto the Algorithm's performance. Rafinha coming in with 3 points, which was, again, pretty disappointing. And Sarr, who I was expecting to have something from one of those two midfielders as they faced off against each other in game week 7. But yeah, I wasn't too disappointed with that because up front we had some big performances coming in particular Jimenez and Vardy came through, and Jimenez obviously with those 2 assists and some bonus, grabbing himself a 10-point return. I was tempted to go with Aspi at the back, who also grabbed 10 points instead of Alonso. I have that in my own personal team, so it was a bit of a strange move, but I did make this a couple days before I made that decision to actually change to Aspi. So yeah, I didn't want to update it late, but we stuck with our guns and we actually did quite well in attack, with Vardy of course getting a nice return despite kicking the ball into his own net a couple of times. So in total, with those Brownhill points added on, the captaincy of Lukaku obviously not paying off, we managed to score ourselves a 52-point return, and the Algorithm with a very, very disappointing and below average 29 points. So yeah, compared to a lot of the Twitter community, 29 points was a very, very disappointing total for last week, and the Algorithm 11 not paying off with that return. So yeah, as you could, if you've the ones who are keen on maths out there, that makes it 5-3 to me in the series. As you can see, the standings as of game week 8. Of course, we had that draw, so that's why the scores don't add up to 7 game weeks exactly before game week 8. And yeah, we're going to be adding in the projected points as a feature now as well, so you can see who's predicted to do the best, and then we'll obviously be recapping every week who does the best. So without further ado, let's move in to the Algorithm 11 for game week 8. Here we go then, the Algorithm 11 for game week 8, the one we've all been waiting for too long now. It seems the international break has gone on a drag, but enough moaning about that. We're back, we're excited for FPL to return, and in goal for the Algorithm 11 this week, it is going to be Robert Sanchez of Brighton. No surprise there really, with Brighton facing Norwich, who are about as much use in front of goal as they are at defending. And yeah, realistically, Norwich are the worst team in the league, and they're probably not going to put one past Brighton, who have looked pretty solid in defence, and their defensive statistics don't look too bad. And moving into the back line, it's actually going to be a double up with Duffy in there as well of Brighton, facing Norwich, of course. No reason to not go with a double up there. It seems very nice. And that's only one of 2 double ups at the back, with Cancelo and Diaz both facing Burnley at home. I'd even be tempted to perhaps go for a triple up this week myself, instead of perhaps Matty Cash, who's gone in for a pick against Wolves at home. You know, Wolves seem to be kind of finding their ground. Their attacking statistics overall so far this season do look sketchy, but they seem to be finding their feet a bit now. Hwang's come in, Jimenez is providing as well as scoring, and I'm pretty hopeful about Wolves' attacking chances, and so perhaps that data is skewing potentially what could be now the newfound form of the Wolverhampton Wanderers. But yeah, a good pick from Cash nonetheless, as we know he has been getting forward a lot and getting attacking returns. And then Trent Alexander-Arnold, who is a minor doubt but has been in training, same with Diogo Jota, and will probably start against Watford, and personally I believe that is a risk worth taking. 7.5 million. Obviously, if you don't have Trent already, probably not worth bringing him in this week and worth the risk. However, he's high risk, high reward. We all know what Trent can do. He can return you a 12 or 15 pointer in the blink of an eye. So yeah, we obviously know that, and if you have him, I would 100% be holding on to him. In midfield then, it's going to be a midfield 3, and there's going to be some big money spent on the Liverpool wingers. Salah and Mane both make it into this week's algorithm 11. I was definitely expecting Salah. However, Mane is a bit of a surprise, I suppose. It depends where else the budget can be spread this week. Of course, Ronaldo and Lukaku up front don't have the easiest of fixtures. Brentford have looked pretty good at the back. Leicester, Ronaldo is in a team without their two strongest centre-backs. Could Leicester even come out on top in that game? And then Grealish in the middle to finish off the midfield 3, who looks like the most nailed of the Man City midfielders. There's been a lot of talk about Grealish, Torres, even Gundogan potentially, or going with Phil Foden. Who's the best one to go for? Who's the best option? It's really between Torres, Foden and Grealish for most people, and a lot of people are taking punts or considering taking a risk, but personally I won't be playing roulette with the pep midfield. But Grealish does seem the most nailed, but he was subbed early against Liverpool when Foden was on the pitch, which is something to note, that he could be reduced minutes, not from the start, but from early on in the second half potentially. And then up front, we're going to finish it off with a forward 2 of Watkins and Antonio, so some pretty surprising picks there. Obviously, Everton's not the easiest of fixtures, but Antonio, when he's fit, we know what great an FPL asset he can be. He's topping all the charts so far this season still, and despite not having the best of form over the last few games. And then Watkins is another pretty surprising one. Of course, Wolves' defensive stats don't look pretty good. Obviously cost me some points last week by getting their clean sheet wiped out once again, and so Watkins has had some pretty nice stats. Instead of going with Danny Ings, the algorithm's gone and picked Watkins, which is quite a surprise, as on the bench there is an Adam Armstrong who faces Leeds at home. So yeah, quite a bit of money spent on a striker off the bench there. Good cover, perhaps, for if Trent, doesn't appear, then of course Armstrong can come in, facing a Leeds team that could be without Rafinha, Bamford, Ayling, lots of their key players out this week once again with all those injury worries they're facing at the moment. And then finally, the last thing to decide is the captains, or well, to see is the captains, and that is going to be, no surprise, the Egyptian king Mohamed Salah takes the armband this week, and it'll be no surprise if he doesn't return probably 2 goals or more. But yeah, we never know. Some people may even be sticking the triple captain on him this week. Mo Salah in form against a Watford, well and truly out of form, and it comes to defending, seems to be a very, very sensible way to go, and we all know what Salah can do in those games when he's on fire. So that's going to wrap it up for the algorithm team this week. I've got to go away now and try and decide and put together a team that I think can take on this algorithm 11 and beat it for game week 8. And here is what we've gone ahead and changed our lineup to. So quite a few changes this week, however, some that you may not be able to spot, such as Laporte coming in for Diaz to save a bit of money there. I also really like the attacking threat that Laporte's been having in the box. He seems certain to start, and yeah, I really think I'd like to go for him. There's a more exciting pick than Diaz, I think, especially as, it's a 1 week punt, but I think Laporte could easily, even grab a goal from a set piece, despite Burnley being quite notoriously good from them. Duffy and Sanchez both retain their places, as do Cancelo and Trent. I've got Trent's cover on the bench sorted with Livramento. I'm hoping that is the only change that I could even potentially see happening this week. That's why I didn't go for players like Rafinha, who are obviously quite major doubts returning from international duty for that kind of reason, despite the fact that I would like them if they were nailed to start. In midfield, De Bruyne comes in for Grealish, so quite a bit of extra cash splash there, and instead of Mane, we've gone with Bukayo Saka, who I really do think is the main threat in that Arsenal attack, and I think he's great value in that midfield against the Crystal Palace side, who haven't looked brilliant, but of course Arsenal, when they're on form, it really depends how they turn up, which Arsenal is going to turn up to face Crystal Palace. If it's the Arsenal that looked very strong recently, then I think Saka could easily grab quite a nice haul this week. Hwang comes in up front, and a lot of people, may be confused by that. Wolves haven't looked absolutely brilliant, but as I said, I think they're finding their form, and I really think Hwang provides some brilliant value, and so I'm going for him really, as although, him Jimenez has penalties, Hwang is cheaper, and of course it looks like a similar dynamic to almost when Vardy and Iheanacho were playing together at Leicester. I think Hwang generally is going to be finishing most of the chances, and despite the fact that, as I said, Jimenez does have other threats, penalties, attempted assists all go in his favour of the Mexicans, I think Hwang could be a real dark horse this week, and I think Aston Villa aren't as reliable at the back as perhaps people think they are, and so I'm going for Hwang as a bit of a punt. Admittedly, it is out there. I've kept Armstrong as well, and Armstrong actually just comes off the bench basically because I think he's worthy of a start this week against a Leeds team who notoriously are shaky at the back and do have a lot of injuries, and so I really think that Southampton could grab a couple of goals this week, hopefully, and Armstrong does look to be a major threat when Southampton are going forward, and I think he'll be grabbing 1 or 2, hopefully, for us this week. Fingers crossed, touch wood, all that stuff. And then, finally, what people might say is quite a surprise pick. I've gone with Ronaldo, and I was between Ronaldo and Lukaku, having a look at them. I did want to go for one of the premium strikers. It seems inevitable that they can't keep blanking. They can't keep disappointing and letting everyone down. I know that's a stupid reason to go with any player, but Ronaldo is Ronaldo. I think United need to bounce back. There's been a lot of pressure to Ollie. He's coming under fire with things like Van de Beek. There's a lot of negative press at the moment, a lot of debate surrounding Ollie in, Ollie out. He's never going to bench Ronaldo again, of course, so Ronaldo is certain to start. And Leicester, they've not looked brilliant, but they've not looked terrible as well. We obviously know they are quite a strong side. I think with United's defensive problems, Leicester could easily grab a goal or two, which will mean United do need to fire back, and they do need to commit, and I think when they're scoring goals, Ronaldo is going to be at the forefront of almost all of them, and probably the one actually putting the ball in the net himself. So I'm going with Ronaldo this week. The captaincy obviously stays on Mohamed Salah. De Bruyne takes the vice-captaincy as he comes back into full form, and I think he could be involved in quite a few of the goals if Burnley do get hammered, as a lot of people are predicting at the Etihad. The rest of the bench stays the same. Didn't have any reason to change Shackleton or Brownhill or Foster. They seem pretty nothing picks. They're not going to get on the pitch realistically. Famous last words incoming. 10 injuries to my starting 11. But that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Eddie versus the Algorithm. As you can see, the projected points below me go in favour of the algorithm, but I'm interested in your opinions. Let me know down below in the comments. Do you think I'm going to come out on top this week? Is Team Eddie going to come out on top, or is Team Algorithm going to come out on top? Of course, not too many changes this week, but of course, the front three's all changed. 2 of the midfielders have changed. The core of the team still looks quite similar, but quite a few substantial changes that can make all the difference, as shown last week, as we nearly doubled the points total of the algorithm for game week 7. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed. If you're new around here, do subscribe to the Fantasy Football Fix channel. You can also subscribe to me down below in the description if you want to see a bit more of me, FPL Phillips. My rank is pretty rubbish at the moment, but I'm hoping to improve it. Yeah, 67,000. It's not awful, but I'm hoping I'll be able to climb the rank soon. So if you want to follow me on my journey, the channel is down in the description. Turn the notification bell on as well if you don't want to miss a future video with the price change videos returning as of yesterday. So brilliant stuff there. The series is back to help you price change your way to that top 10k. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Smash a like if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next week. And so wish you all the best of luck for game week 8.